always born with that desire, I think. I'd probably, yeah, I think it's innate to want to either ride a motorcycle or fly an airplane.
What is your first thought about getting a motorcycle? When did that first occur to you that you wanted one? Yeah.
Wow, I don't know. Huh. Well, probably at about 4 months, maybe.
Okay, so
When we were kids, we used to ride around on with our at a
That
very
was-
early age, and I couldn't tell you how old, but we'd always put the cards in our spokes to make that noise
Oh,
like a
yeah,
motorcycle.
right.
So I mean, that was all the kids in the neighborhood wanted to be on motorcycles. And then I got that tractor when I was 4 or 5. So I think I got it for Christmas from my dad. And yeah,
You were 4 years old?
I think so.
Wow.
1950, so that's a 1956 Murray tractor. Yeah, those are straight pipes. Kind of like what I got on the Harley.
Was that part of the inspiration for your later years?
Oh yeah, that's what I based my whole life on right there. Yeah, all my kids and all my grandkids have grown up with that tractor.
Really?
The kid looks enough like me to be me.
Mm-hmm.
It's my son Ian.
Wow.
So those are my daughters Anthony and Ian, and this is 1983, so I'm 31. But this is Moline, Illinois. I'm back visiting with my kids for, a summer vacation or something. And so this is the park that I grew up in, Veely's Park. So I'd ride my tractor up there because it was flat on top of the hill, and there was this sidewalk that went around and around and all through the park. It's a 1951 Triumph chopper. It looked kind of like the it had a little bit of a rake on the fork. It stuck out about maybe 10 inches farther than normal. And then the back was cut down real low and had a big tire on the back, so it kind of had big, huge, tall handlebars on it, so it kind of rode high. I had that big sissy bar on there. That was kind of the trend of the time. I wouldn't do that again.
I saw that, and I have no idea what that is.
Well, it's sissy bars, so you don't fall off the back. See how you can rest your back on it? That's why they call them sissy bars. Because if you're afraid, you'll...
Oh, I see.
Real men don't use sissy bars. I use it to tie stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I used to go fishing with this, and I'd take my tent and my sleeping bag and my fishing pole and tie them to the back of that sissy bar, and ride out to the river.
Stay out overnight?
Yeah, then I'd usually just camp by myself and try to catch some fish.
What river would that be?
Salt River. Then I took the mufflers off at the end there, so it was just a straight pipe sticking out there. They were almost too short because you use pipes to disperse the heat of the engine head too. And so these pipes, after I did that, would get hot too. Yeah, in fact, when you gun it, flames would shoot out, the exhaust pipe for about 6 inches. Looked cool though at night. Kind of like a drag racer.
That's cool.
Yeah. That's what this bike was set up for. It was a dirt bike, a dirt track racer bike. So he cut it down. It had nothing on it other than the headlight. I had money in the bank from my paper out and shoveling snow and raking leaves and all the kinds of things I did as a kid. I had already talked to my dad about buying a car, and my dad didn't bite, so thought I just didn't need to be spending that money on that kind of stuff. So I practiced forging his signature all afternoon on a piece of paper so I could go down to the bank, because it was a joint bank account with my dad. and then I could take the money out and it'd be like he was signing off on it too. So I went and got $400 and went and bought the bike, and didn't have any place at home to keep it. So my best friend Jim Maltby at the time said I could keep it at his house in his garage. And well, how are you going to explain it to your dad? And my dad will never know. So we don't even go in the garage. So I kept it up there for a long time, and I'd go up there every time I need to just walk to Jim's house and get my bike and then go out and ride around. I was taking it to school and giving friends rides. And
How old were you?
well, I didn't have a driver's license. I was about 14, I think.
Wow.
My mom corners me at the dinner table and says, "So, I hear you have a motorcycle." And she says, or either her or my dad, they'd already scripted this out, sort of like, and one of them said, don't try to cover it up, don't lie about this. So yeah, I got a bike, and where is it? And I keep it over at Maltby's house. So I had to fess up, and they're kind of cool about it at dinner that night. And well, that's a bad thing. And then my mom realized, I saw those signatures of your dad's in the wastebasket down there. I wondered what you were doing. And I should have burned them. That's also how she kind of put two and two together, because I took my mom for a ride, and took my dad for a ride, and took my sister for a ride, and then my dad just, yep, pretty nice bike. Get her up and sell it. Put it for sale. So.
Because why?
Because I wasn't supposed to have it. I lied and cheated to get it. So he wasn't going to let me keep it, even though he thought it was pretty neat. My dad was into, those kinds of things. Old cars and old bikes and stuff. But,
Didn't you say that he was behind you getting that Hudson, though? What age were you then?
I was about the same age, but it didn't run. And we bought that as a project car.
Uh-huh.
So he could help me, fix it up, and he taught me how to work on cars. That's what we, replaced the drivetrain and worked on the engine and put new gas tank on it and reupholstered it and all kinds of stuff. So that was something we did together, and my dad was a real Hudson fan because he had 2 Hudsons already. So he really bought into buying a Hudson, and it was only like $20. So.
What did you call it? Your friends would call it a
Turd. The car was brown, and the dashboard was a dark brown, and then I had the seats upholstered with this striped, I guess it was velvet, no, it's corduroy, corduroy, with a real dark brown and medium dark brown stripes, and yeah, it was sharp looking. And then, of course, the tops of the seats all back then were leather, so it had stitched leather on the top. It was pretty fancy. But it was cool because it was about 80 feet long. The front seat was about the size of that couch.
Wow.
It was extremely big car, and comfortable. Back, you could put your feet out like that in the back seat.
Wow, really?
Oh, God, yeah, that's what it was, a caper car. It was so big in the back seat, it was like, sitting on a couch, and of course, it was always full of underage kids riding around drinking. And we take all the beer caps, aluminum beer pop tops, I guess, with the little coil on them, and we used to make the chains. Everybody used to do that, and then they hung down in front of the doors, kind of like those
Curtains?
curtains, yeah.
Hippie curtains?
Yeah, exactly. And they kind of chimed in the wind. If you rolled the window down a little bit, they. But, people like to party in the car. Everybody likes a good party. And, we'd go down and have a couple cases of beer in the trunk or whatever, and go down to the pool hall where I hung out. So we'd just ride around. Back then you cruised the one-ways and tried to meet girls and all that kind of stuff. So, since I got that car at such an early age, I probably was among not a whole lot of people that had a car at that point, at that age.
Yeah.
Being in, freshman and sophomore year of high school, etc. So. Beatles were a heavy influence on me. John Lennon in the 1964 came out. And of course, he's a lot older in that picture there, but you know, the wire rim glasses, and then you know, as they started growing their hair longer, I started growing my hair longer. I started wearing wire rim glasses, and of course, I love to play the Beatles stuff in general. The one that was most significant to me in the Yellow Triumph stage of my life would, you know, obviously be the Beatles coming to America at that same time. And the first song I really fell in love with was second motorcycle I bought. Yeah, it was a 1968 Harley Sportster. It wasn't fancy. It just had an engine and straight pipes. A lot like my Triumph, was just kind of a basic bike, a chopper.
Bigger though, right?
Bigger engine.
Mm-hmm.
I think my Triumph was faster though. I really do. That thing hauled butt.
Wow.
At the time, there was a shortage of Harleys. This is a 99. I bought it in 99. I bought it new. And they were only manufacturing limited numbers. They're cheaper now, actually. You can probably get a bike like this now for about 15,000. They have that distinctive sound, and it's if you hear the way they like to advertise it, they like to liken it to the sound it would make if you said potato, 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 potato. When I got burned, but it fell this way and my leg was on the muffler, and I'd gone around a rock turn, and the guy behind me got out and picked it up off me that time, but you know, by that time my leg was pretty well burnt.
The hot muffler was laying on your leg,
Yeah,
and you couldn't get it off?
That hurt.
Riding, what does it feel like to you?
Well, it's flying without actually flying. You just feel the wind. Yeah, it's just kind of a freer feel, something, not a lot protecting you, which is kind of a slight adrenaline rush.
Mm-hmm.
In a car, if you're really going 100 miles an hour, you're kind of like, well, you know, if it goes out of control, I might live. On a bike, if you're going 100 miles an hour, well, I know I won't live, so I hope something weird doesn't happen. Started getting popular after World War I with the returning airmen, you know, wanting to do something that was almost as much fun as flying. And so I think the first motorcycle people were airline war pilots.
Oh, really?
That wanted to get back into the saddle and feel the experience of flying an airplane, you know, with the wind in your hair. You know, bikers and hippies are two different breeds.
Bikers are violent. Hippies are not violent.
Yeah. And that's probably the conundrum of being a hippie with a motorcycle. I'm not really a biker, but sometimes I look like a biker. The beard and the long hair and stuff.
Oh.
So, but I'm pretty peace-loving, so. But I hung around with bikers in high school because I had a motorcycle. And there was actually a little gang, they called themselves the Roulette Wheels, and they let me ride with them because I had a motorcycle. Two of them were Hell's Angels. Two of the older brothers were Hell's Angels from the Jareds. And
Violent?
oh yeah, fighting all the time. And I hung out with a few of those guys for a while. So I eventually realized that I wasn't in their league.
Did they have long hair?
A lot of them, yeah.
See, that's confusing to me, Donna, until you
Well,
mentioned
they
it.
don't wash their hair though. Long-haired bikers don't wash their hair. Always looks greasy. They're more greasers with long hair to me.
Oh, West Side Story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, that era, those were the bikers of their area. They were called greasers, and they didn't have long hair. They had slick back hair. I spent a lot of life looking for a place to fit in. So I wasn't really mainstream in any way. I couldn't find a mainstream that suited me, so I was always on the fringe. But I think all kids go through that. They're finding themselves.
But did you think of yourself as a hippie, though, right?
Number one, yeah. And I suppose when I was hanging around with the bikers, I consider myself a biker. We had a big party with two of them. One of them got married. He was actually the president of the bike club. And went to the party after the wedding. Him and the best man were out in the driveway when I pulled up with my friends, and they were yelling and screaming at each other, and all of a sudden they got in a big bloody fist fight and just knocked the snot out of each other because he had kissed the bride and the groom wanted to kick his ass, and these are like best friends. So that's how the party started off, with the groom beating up the best man. Well, it's going to be a hell of a party. And there were 3 or 4 more fights like that before the night was over.
Do you think it was the music that was the engine behind the hippie movement?
The music was a result. I don't know if that was the cause. I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
If you listen to a lot of that music, though, it's anti-war.
Oh, it's protest music, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the flavors of music in my mind were protest music and love music, And the Beatles were an excellent example of that. Crosby, Stills and Nash. And a lot of protest songs in Crosby, Stills and Nash's repertoire. I think it was a precursor of the beatnik movement, which happened in the late 50s. And that was kind of jazzy and bluesy. And then it evolved into a lot of folk musicians like John Sebastian and Carole King and
Joni Mitchell,
Joni Mitchell,
Judy Collins.
Judy Collins. Yeah, a lot of women artists right around there too. And but there was Cat Stevens. And Arlo Guthrie was kind of like a pioneer
Oh, yeah.
that moved through that period. A big part, but it was also in protest to materialism and capitalism and fascism and racial intolerance. I think that's what it means to me. That's what I always tried to identify with as a hippie. Those kinds of values. I think communism actually was a big part of that too. That a lot of hippies realized that capitalism was corrupt and that communism might have been a better form of government. And that's what pissed off all the conservative people. Commie pinkos, that's what they called the hippies back then.
Commie Pinko fags.
Yeah, commie pinko fags. Because they're also for equal rights for all people. It was a result too of huge social impacts like the Martin Luther King stuff, all those black rights movements and civil rights movements I meant. And that was, I think white people were beginning to realize that we had to unite and help everybody and end that kind of bullshit. To me, it was a spiritual movement. It is a spiritual movement. It continues on now through a lot of spirituality, I think.
Do you resent, how do you feel about people like, if a person referred to you as an ex-hippie, what would you think of that comment?
Yeah, that'd be disrespectful, because, I don't know, I hate to think I got over it.